It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker. We started on time this hour, patting ourselves on the back. Last hour, we had some technical issues, and we were a few minutes late. We were in the studio. We were trying to make it happen.
Yeah, tried. At least it didn't happen yesterday.
Control.
At least it didn't happen yesterday when I was on the board, because
I
probably just said, all right, no show today.
Goodbye, everybody.
Because I'm about 40% through my training on knowing how to do everything on the board. Like, I can run the show as long as nothing goes wrong. Otherwise, we're in trouble.
Well, and I appreciate your patience with all my car noise that was going on my way home yesterday.
I mean, I was fine. I'm just worried about the listeners because, like, especially when I first turned it on, it was just like, all I heard was white noise. It was really loud. I went back and listened to it. I was posting the episode on our podcast, and it came on. I was like, oh, goodness gracious.
Technology.
Gotta love it.
I know. Because I had something that was supposed to prevent that, and apparently it didn't work. So
your earbud things?
Yeah. So much for that. Anyway, this hour on the Full Court Press, covering a couple different topics. And, of course, you're always welcome to chime in on whatever is on your mind or ask questions. 435-339-0321 here on the Full Court Press. But last hour we talked about transfers. A number of Utah State defensive linemen just within the last 48 hours have put their name in the portal. So it's got us wondering what is going on there. And then Utah State basketball getting ready for Fresno State. They open up Mountain West Conference play tomorrow. 12 o'clock tip-off for Utah State. So pregame coverage on KVNU will start tomorrow morning at 11 with Al Lewis and Jalen Moore. And then the game will be on CBS Sports Network for those who can't make it to the game. And then later in the day, it'll be Utah State women taking on San Diego State at 5. But this hour, talking a little bit more about just kind of reflecting back on some of the top stories of the last year. And, this is kind of a popular thing to do, and for good reason. There's enough content going on that we don't have to do this, but it's a good time at the end of the year to reflect back on the year that was. And so we put our heads together and came up with some of the top stories of the last year. These are in no particular order.
They're in sort of particular order.
You put them in more of a chronological order.
I put them about...
You didn't rank them.
Yeah, I put them about as chronological order as I could remember them being. And some of them don't fit particularly well because, well, one of the sections covers things that literally went from start of the year to end of the year. Then there was another one where things happened in September and December. But other than that, I tried to list them in order of, I'm pretty sure this is what order they happened in the year. It could be a mistake. It's just like, I remember this happened this time. But in going back and researching them, I got a better idea of when they happened anyway. And I'm typically not very good at making these kind of lists because I can't even remember what I did last month, much less what happened for Utah State or in Cache Valley back in March. But, had you helped me to jog my memory, and I went back and looked, what actually happened this year? I was like, oh, yeah, a lot of things happened. And a bunch of them were negative, and I was like, why are we so negative? Why is everything terrible? But I found a lot of good ones, too. So luckily, I think there's at least as much positive as there is negative in this article.
So if you want to go see it and reference it, it's on CacheValleyDaily.com, the top Cache Valley sports stories of 2022. And, again, this is more of a chronological order, not just a rank the biggest story on down. But, this is – and it's certainly if there's something that's not here that we should be considering that maybe we missed, let us know on the Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321.
Yeah, let us know, because I ended up chopping it down to 10. Because I was like, all right, I kind of want it to be an even 10. And so there's probably 5 or 6 that got left on, my desk back there. Where it's just, all right, whatever. So if you bring one up, I probably considered it. Maybe I didn't. All the better if I didn't consider it, because it's something more we can remember. So text in your favorite stories as we go along this hour, as we remember 2022, since this will be our last show of this calendar year.
Yes, it will. So one of the top one on your list to start us off is that the men's basketball team last year, new coach, different players, see how this team would come together. There were injuries last year with some key guys. What would this team be able to do under Ryan Odom? But in the end, they missed out on an NCAA bid, but they did host an NIT game. And it's been a little while since USU has hosted an NIT game. Oregon came to town, Pac-12 team. There was some excitement. It was a good atmosphere in the Spectrum. But Oregon came out and they just were the aggressors, and they took control of that game and ended up winning 83-72. But it was, for a team that had qualified for the NCAA tournament the previous 3 years, it may have felt like a little bit of a disappointment not making the tournament again. But the fact that a new coach came in and was kind of dealing with some main guys who weren't able to contribute like we thought they could, particularly Brock Miller and a couple of guys that just struggled and weren't quite like we thought they're going to be. It was still impressive that he got the team to an NIT berth.
Yeah, he had to take over for a coach. And Craig Smith in 3 years qualified for 3 tournaments, went to 2. The one was canceled, but he qualified. In trying to follow that up, a guy who became a legend in short order, at least in terms of his accomplishments at the university, taking over for that's not easy, especially because Craig Smith then took several key and developing players. He takes Marco Anthony, who was I think he was an all-defensive player. The year he played at Utah State, and then he also took Raleigh Wooster, who was could have developed into a more reliable scorer at Utah State. They both ended up going to Utah, and so he had to put together a backcourt in a hurry that was inexperienced and full of unknown guys, and he did have Justin Bean, so that helped. But he did bring in Brandon Horvath and others, and was able to put together an NIT team in a tough conference. And so you give him credit for that. And those of us who are patient with Ryan Odom, okay, maybe it was a disappointment, but let's see how it goes. And in year 2, the patience seems to be paying off as he's developed an even better team than he had last year. Which getting a team that's better than an NIT team is always a positive.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that was a positive start of the year. There was not the only thing that was going on that time of the year for Utah State. Gymnastics under Amy Smith continued to improve year over year. Great individual accomplishments. The team set a record for the second highest ever score, that they'd ever had in their history. And just, again, a great season for gymnastics. And then Amy Smith moves on, goes to bigger and brighter opportunities at Clemson as they're starting a gymnastics program and bringing her to help them get it started.
Yeah, that was really the unfortunate thing, because I've been following gymnastics over the last several years, just watching them grow and get better every single year. And then they ended last year in the top 25. At least they were top 25 heading into the postseason regionals and whatnot. And it was one of their best teams they've had in decades. And they win the conference. First time they'd won the Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference. They had been I can't remember what it was called. Basically, it was just a Western conference. It might have just been the WAC. I can't remember what the actual name was, because sometimes when you go to different sports, the conferences look different or just named different.
Right.
For instance, hockey plays. Actually, they might have called it the Mountain West in hockey, but they, in gymnastics, it's not called the Mountain West. But, this Mountain Rim Gymnastics has been around, I think, about half a decade, maybe slightly longer. And it basically only consists of Utah State, BYU, Boise State, and SUU. It's a pretty small conference. But they win it for the first time. And it's a tough conference because Boise State and BYU get ranked pretty consistently, and SUU's no slouch either. It's pretty easy to finish last in that conference for Utah State, but they finally go up and win it. And it was huge. It was, banner season, and you keep going from there. And it's just like completely undercut by, bam, Amy Smith's leaving. She built the best program at Utah State over the last 5-6 years, including basketball. And now she's gone.
We had a chance to visit with Kristen White about a month ago, as she's the new gymnastics coach, and get a feel for what kind of program she wants to build here, what kind of experience that she has. And it seems, again, we don't know anything until we start to have these competitions, but it seems like USU gymnastics is in good hands moving forward. Yeah, when you start to achieve the type of success that Amy Smith was creating, you create a different level of profile for people who are interested in the job. And Kristen White has a pretty interesting background that she's bringing with her to USU.
Yeah, she's was a really good gymnast in her own right. If I remember, she was an All-American.
She was individually, yeah.
And Amy Smith had a similar background where Amy Smith was a really good gymnast in her time. And then they go, and usually they're a grad assistant and assistant, and they learn the ropes of coaching, and then they go coach somewhere.
Attached to some very successful programs.
Yeah, and so both have had pretty similar paths. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily guarantee success, but one thing you can point out is in the preseason, the gymnastics organization is not the AP who does these rankings, but the preseason ranking that came out about 3 weeks ago, Utah State's ranked 34th. It's not bad. Could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
You finished 25 last year, you're 34th next year. That's something to work on. The program isn't falling off a cliff.
No. So
it's just a little disappointing that the success you built now has to be passed on. Somebody else has to continue that.
Then we shift to football. I know there's been a lot of football talk on this show, and certainly when you look at the year that was, it's there's going to have several topics related to football. And it was not without controversy. Yes, it had success in getting to a bowl game, and after the way things were playing out in September, we didn't think that was even possible. So that was an accomplishment. That was a good thing. But getting there was not easy, and part of it was mired in controversy. Logan Bonner injures his knee in the bowl game last year, misses spring ball, comes to participate sparingly in the fall, but all we hear from him and from the coach is that he'll be fine, he'll be ready to go. But as the season started, we could tell Logan Bonner was not fine. He did not look as dynamic, he did not look as confident, and he was not as accurate. And we could tell that he wasn't right, he wasn't healthy, he wasn't back. But Coach Anderson just consistently wanted to stick with his guy. And that started to get people really upset. The notable game was Weber State. They're losing to Weber State. We're throwing interceptions to the other team, and fans are getting upset that the coaches are sticking with Logan Bonner. They're not upset with Logan Bonner. They're upset that the coaches aren't recognizing that he's not helping the team put the team in a position to win. And that just creates a whole other set of controversy with Blake Anderson and his post-game comments that fans really took issue with.
Yeah, it was quite the story for a few days, and that was one of our days where, of course, just after the Weber State game, that was one of our days where our entire show basically consisted of reading off the 100 texts we got. Because everyone was fired up about not only the fact they lost to Weber State, but the comments that were made, and yeah, it wasn't healthy. It wasn't a good experience for Blake Anderson. Did not have a good week. Did not have a good month, to be honest. Just some controversy that kept coming out, and it was his seat started to get a bit hot for a second there. People were like, okay, should we really be keeping him around? And it was just so surprising, and it was so bad because those rumblings started. And granted, there's usually an extreme who are always really quick to immediately call for the coach's head. Like that's their first solution. Usually, rumblings to fire head coach starts with that kind of very minority group, and then it ripples through the fandom if things get worse. And so we were already having that group, and it was just amazing that group would already start because Blake Anderson had just done in year one what nobody else had ever done before, in winning like 11 games and winning a conference championship. Nobody else had ever done that at Utah State in their first year. So it was kind of amazing. That's why it probably is. Like if I were to actually try and rank these, this would be up there at the top in terms of how big it was.
Yeah, and I agree because it was not just his reaction, but everything that was going on at that time. Just that Logan Bonner was struggling. The coaches were sticking with him to a fault, loyal to a fault, and not finding another solution to help move the team forward. And then just the fan reaction, and then the coaches and players' reactions to that, to those fans. And the Aggies had a bye week, and so nothing got settled or said, or maybe it was a good thing to let some of that simmer down a little bit. But then it was followed up with, hey, we're going to do a week focused on mental health and trying to reposition, what's going on and the struggle and conflict that was going on in that locker room, and shedding a light on, yes, a needed topic to be discussed, because that's frankly something that's been one of the challenges with Blake Anderson this year, which is where he is in his own headspace because tragedy struck his family. As if he hadn't had enough tragedy already in his history. His adult son took his life in early part of the year, and that really can affect you and can stick with you for a long time and has long-lasting ripple effects, and it can be really difficult to deal with and overcome. And so, where Coach Anderson was in his own headspace emotionally too, coming into this season was a big question, and it took a while for this football team to really kind of get back to the team that and I don't know if they ever really did, replicate that team that we saw from a year ago that won a conference championship.
Yeah, they had it in spurts. I know the San Jose State win was reminiscent of the 2021 team where it's like, feel like you're kind of down and out and then you just pull off a win when you're not expected to win. That kind of felt a little bit like the 2021 team. And granted, the previous team was doing against maybe better teams than a San Jose State team. But still, it had a bit of that where you pull wins out and you have clutch play. And that was one of the hallmarks of that 2021 team is they were clutch. They made plays when they had to. But yeah, overall, this team didn't replicate that at all. Or at least in very limited quantities, I should say. Again, you could pull one or two examples here and there. Hawaii is kind of another example of being clutch, sort of. I guess in that game they just got ahead enough and didn't blow it.
Yeah,
I guess
that's true.
They made enough plays in that game. So, and then in Air Force might be another example where they made plays when they needed to. So, other than flashes of that 2021 team, this year's team rarely managed to get back to that. They were a shell or shadow of last year's team.
In addition to that controversy, there was also controversy surrounding Coach Anderson in how he allegedly dealt with a player whistleblower as the team was, this is in regards to something that happened the year prior with the team dealing with sexual assaults, allegations, and how you got to be careful and how to handle it. And apparently one of the players didn't quite like some of the things that Coach was saying about it or how he handled it after the fact, after it came to light, and filed a lawsuit against Coach Anderson and the team in the university.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, if you remember all the way back before the bowl game, there was a recording that came out, and Blake Anderson, they were talking about sexual assault and how to handle it and how to, I guess not get accused. Basically advising the players on, informing them. I'm trying to make this sound like it wasn't like they were trying to tell them like how to hide committing these things. It was how to avoid it, how to avoid misunderstanding, how to keep yourself out of trouble.
Yes.
In these cases. It can be a very sticky, very complicated situation. And he was a bit too frank. Saying some of the things we tend not to say out loud, he said them out loud. And things that aren't necessarily true. There's some that would argue they are true, but they're not things you say out loud. And he said them out loud, and so we got in trouble for it. It got one guy fired or at least let go, or he quit, or whatever.
At least the parts that were made public.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, there were multiple other things that were said that were not made public on the recording, where he makes it very clear that he does not stand for any of those kinds of behaviors. It made it very clear that the punishment would be severe on his team if you engage in anything like that. But that didn't make the press.
Yeah, and that's where it's tricky, because when you just put a small clip out of context, you can make anyone sound bad.
Yes.
And so that's where some of the controversy, where you defend Blake Anderson, like, look, okay, well, it sounds bad, but there's always more. You can never cut cheese so fine that there's not two sides, as someone smarter than me once said. So yeah, that was a kind of. Then it comes back to because the one player let out the audio, which some would argue he did it, didn't include all the proper context, and people weren't happy about that. And of course, the player said he was bullied, and he brought it up to the coach. Nothing was done. So it all boils down to coaches mistreating players, allowing bullying, not doing anything about it, and basically punish a player for being a whistleblower, which is not something you should do. But that's the allegation, long and short of it.
Yes. All right, more on the top stories of the year and kind of a chronological order, not necessarily any particular rank, but if there are top stories of the year that you want to highlight or talk about, we'd love to hear from you. Get your nominations in on our Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321.
The Young Automotive Group is proud to announce Young Truck and Trailer Center in Cache Valley. Whether it's heavy equipment trailers, horse trailers, race car trailers, or cargo and utility trailers, we're excited to offer some of the finest trailers and flatbed work trucks to Cache Valley. Our team of experts look forward to helping you find the right truck or trailer to fit your needs, with competitive prices offered on every make and model for sale on our lot. With our extensive inventory, you'll find the best deals right here in Cache Valley. Young Truck and Trailer Center, just off Highway 89 in Logan. Think young, drive young.
This is Mark at the Sportsman on Main Street. Winter is here, and that means downhill and cross-country skiing. Come and see us for great boot fitting and advice on your next ski and ski boot purchase. We guarantee the best prices and the best service you will find. We usually can mount your bindings in 24 hours or less. We also rent brand new cross-country and skate skis and snowshoes. Have fun this winter. Let us help with expert advice on the best gear and clothing from the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan, with tons of free parking in the back.
The college football bowl season moves into the new year with the ReliaQuest Bowl. Catch the SEC's Mississippi State Bulldogs against Illinois' Fighting Illini from the Big Ten. The Bulldogs and the Illini, live from Raymond James Stadium in Tampa for the ReliaQuest Bowl on Bowl Season Radio.
Monday, beginning at 10 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
For more than a century, S. Needham Jewelers has been repairing jewelry and watches in Cache Valley. We do all our work on premises, and you may even talk directly with our expert technicians. We also have today's state-of-the-art equipment, including a laser welder that will repair jewelry with precision. We guarantee our work and offer competitive prices. So whether repairing your precious wedding ring, sizing a ring, or simply changing a watch battery, come to Utah's oldest jewelry store with today's newest technology and repair. S. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
On behalf of the management team at TTM Technologies, we want to thank our more than 500 employees here in Logan for your hard work and dedication. Because of you, TTM Technologies continues to grow at a phenomenal pace. We've never been more optimistic, and the job opportunities at TTM have never been better. If you're searching for a job or considering a career change, we invite you to talk to us, or go to careers.ttmtech.com to review our open positions. Happy holidays from all of us here at TTM Technologies in Logan.
Own a small business or a farm? You thought about solar? Listen up. A new USDA grant was announced allocating $300 million for farmers and small business owners to put in solar. That's right. The government will help you get solar installed, covering 40% of the costs. And don't forget, as a business, you can save up to 50 or 60% more with federal and state tax credits. Second Sun Solar will install your system and help with the USDA paperwork. Call Second Sun Solar today at 435-363-9917 or online at utahsolardirect.com.
Happy holidays, and thank you for letting Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, the Allergy Clinic, and the Hearing Aid Center take care of your family medical needs. Make sure you call now for an appointment before the end of the year to utilize your cafeteria funds. Located in Providence and the new Three Peaks Medical Plaza, North Logan. The entire staff, along with Drs. Benyon, Blotter, and Robinette, wish you a safe and wonderful holiday. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for details. Most insurance products included. Select Med are accepted.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. And talking about the top stories of the year. 435-339-0321. If you've got a nomination or a recommendation that we should talk about, we've been mostly going through it in chronological order, not necessarily ranking them 1 through 10 or anything like that. But 8968 texts in, I'm hoping that the football coach can fix his emotional problems this coming year, not for just the team's sake, but for his.
And that's a worry because, when you have an emotional shock, it can change you as a person and make you into something that you're not, and you behave in ways that you normally wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not going to say that Blake Anderson's acting like that. He doesn't seem like he's changed from an outside perspective. He's still open. He's friendly. He's generally been honest with the media, at least open with the media. In friendly. I don't know what he's like behind closed doors. I've not, had a chance to know him behind closed doors. But if that happened, if that was something that's gone wrong, then yeah, it's possible you could be linked. But I wouldn't be too worried because it doesn't seem like there's any evidence that that's what's happened. Because it's like, okay, he had a down year. Let's not pretend that the coach has lost his dadgum mind. He's probably fine, barring the obvious emotional scars that he'll be carrying for his life due to what's happened to him.
Yes. Yeah, those are not easy things to deal with or to overcome. I'm no mental health expert by any means, but suicide has touched my family, unfortunately. So I, from personal experience, can relate in how that can have long-reaching effects and can be tough to deal with. And so, yeah, I totally agree with 8968 that hope that he finds peace, finds ways to deal with it. And for a lot of people, especially guys, just getting back into work, getting something to distract us, that tends to be one of the biggest things. But when work isn't happening, how can he, still be a healthy, whole person? And will he ever be a whole person? I don't know. The guy's lost a lot. But finding ways to move forward can be tough, but I agree. Getting himself healthy is a really important thing that he needs to figure out. And when he does that, I think the whole football team, that staff, will all be the better for it.
Yeah. But I'd argue it's not necessarily the case that he has lost it.
No,
he may have already overcome that hurdle himself.
Yes. I agree. I think that emotions certainly surfaced after that Weber State loss and continued after the UNLV game, but then started to turn after that. A couple other big stories, speaking of Weber State, that's that the Aggies lose to the Wildcats twice in the matter of months back-to-back. In football, followed by basketball. Two things that very, very rarely happen for Utah State.
Yeah, it's only ever happened once. Ever. Well, twice now. Happened in 1978, which is the last time that Weber had beaten Utah State in football, and they also happened to beat him in basketball that year. Happens again this year, and it dang near wrecked the football program. Was a inconvenience for the basketball program. But still, both were big. Like, Weber State's going to consider beating Utah State twice the highlight of their sports year. That's the accomplishment of the year for them.
Yes.
For Utah State, we remember it for the opposite reason. It's embarrassing and shouldn't be happening.
Right, the controversy surrounding it.
Yeah,
for football,
yeah.
The struggle in basketball, just how they couldn't get things going again. But kind of definitely a big story in that the team from Ogden came into town both times in Logan and went home with a victory behind them.
Yeah, just embarrassing.
Another big story related to football, Ike Larson, homegrown talent, started at Logan High, transferred to Skyview, had tremendous impact seasons for both schools, comes to Utah State, and in his redshirt freshman year for the Aggies, when he starts to see the field, he makes plays. And unfortunately, the tail end of his season hampered by injuries, but when he did play, he made plays. The guy's a gamer and has a nose for the ball.
Yeah, it was amazing, not just because Utah State player was able to do this, is because former Cache Valley High School star was able to do it. And he was able to do it as a freshman. Dude was an honorable mention freshman All-American from College Football News, right? I think that's who awarded that. In his counting stats, it didn't look super good. 33 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, but he made so many of those. You mentioned he had a nose for the ball. Made so many of those game-changing plays. Blocked 3 kicks. One of his blocked kicks was caught by somebody else. They returned it for a touchdown. He has 4 interceptions. Returns one of those for a touchdown. Dude made plays.
Yeah, when you consider his impact plays compared to snaps on the field, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Most players don't come close to that.
Yeah, there was a game, one of his first games of the year, where he, maybe it was UConn, I don't know, there was one of the early games where he played less than 10 snaps, or maybe it was something like less than 15 snaps. I think it might have been less than 10 snaps, but 4 of them had a direct impact on the game, where made a third down tackle or a third down hurry that forced an interception, or just had an interception, or blocked a kick. 4 out of 10 snaps he played were game-changing plays in one way or another.
Yeah, it was really exciting and fun to watch him play and develop and impact the game, added by the fact that he's a homegrown talent for sure. And switching to more local, high school level type stuff, a lot of championship trophies coming to Cache Valley, and Region 11 include Bear River in that as well. In the high school athletics scene this past year, where there were a lot of championships or runner-up finishes for just about everybody in Region 11.
Yeah, if I did my counting right, there were 11 championships. One of them's iffy because one of them there was a 3-way tie for boys tennis title, and 2 Region 11 teams were in on that. Ridgeline and Green Canyon, I believe, tied with Crimson Cliffs for the boys tennis first place title. But Ridgeline, they come out on top. I think I did my math wrong because I said they won. In my article, it says they won 3 championships, but I have 4 listed, so I have to go back and change that. Ridgeline won 4 championships and had 3 runner-up finishes. Mountain Crest won 3 championships. So Ridgeline, they were first in volleyball, girls swimming, softball, and as I said, they tied for boys tennis. Runner-up in girls basketball, drill, and boys soccer. Mountain Crest, their 3 championships, girls soccer, boys and girls wrestling. Green Canyon, they won 3 championships. The aforementioned tie for boys tennis. They also won girls tennis, which for them, that was a back-to-back title. And that was so dominant for Green Canyon, that girls tennis, and I actually wrote a feature on this, where in the championship round, they accumulate points by how their players perform in the championship round, or through all the rounds. By the championship round, Green Canyon could have lost every single one of those games and still won the title. It was that dominant. But by the final round, they'd already won the title.
Insane.
Yeah, so Green Canyon with those 3. Bear River won 1 championship, had 2 runner-ups. They won in girls lacrosse, runner-up in girls wrestling and softball. Skyview got the one championship in boys swimming, and then runner-up in boys lacrosse. So there you go. Unfortunately, Logan didn't have anything. Sorry.
Sorry. That's too bad. And but what a haul by a lot of these schools. Ridgeline with the most of anybody, but an impressive season, calendar year for a lot of these teams, and the success that they had. Exciting when these teams are competing for and playing in championships. And there are a number of others that got third place finishes and placed well in state level competition.
Yeah, I just went with the first place and runner up because those are usually the easiest to know.
Yes.
There's not always a third place winner there are in individual sports that they make into team sports, like the cross countries and tennis and whatnot. You can figure out a third place winner, not kind of, in a bracket format. But it basically means the only way to determine that third place is, all right, who did the champion beat in the semifinal?
Yeah, without having a designated third place game.
Which there usually isn't.
Which they don't do. Yeah.
So you just have to kind of, by one set of rules, just pick one of the two semifinal losers and say, all right, you're the third place because you lost to the eventual champion. But nobody really hands out a bronze-colored medal for that.
No. For keeping with high school football, some controversy with high school football in Region 11, and it started early in the season with Ridgeline. With a game, the team had a game in Southern Utah, and allegedly some hazing going on, some really inappropriate hijinks going on a bus ride back, getting players in trouble, getting them suspended, and some getting kicked off the team.
Yeah, just a very, very unfortunate thing and I believe they're still going through the legal process on this. I don't know if anybody's been convicted of anything.
Or they're juniors. I mean, they're juveniles, I should say. It's hard to know.
Yeah, and you can find out if you dig into it. But obviously in this setting where we're part of the media, we don't. And granted, I've not looked into it to figure out who the names are because it's none of my business. I don't care. I've not been reporting on it personally. Some people have reported on it, and they keep the names quiet because that's what you need to do.
Yes.
These kids, again, and everything's alleged, but again, assuming this is they had surveillance cameras, so I don't know if I want to convict them yet, but seriously, if this happened, the kids made a mistake, a really stupid mistake. Let's let them figure out their lives from here and not end their lives before they've really begun.
Yeah, so that was kind of a rough way to get things going for Region 11 football with Ridgeline. But then it wasn't the only controversy. Later in the year, allegations of mistreatment by Logan High football coach Bart Bowen to one of his players who struggled recovering from an injury that was sustained apparently in a weight room, and struggled to come back from it, and allegations of mistreatment made it tough, and then eventually Coach Bowen let go as soon as the season's over.
Yeah, this one was a lot less concrete, whereas with the Ridgeline players, they had security cameras, witnesses, and things like that. They were they could build a criminal case out of that, to where those allegations seemed a lot more credible. Obviously, still innocent until proven guilty. This one, it was he said, she said. The Herald Journal, they spoke with this player. I'm suddenly forgetting his name. He revealed his name. He's not
Sione Powney.
Yeah, he didn't keep himself private, and that's perfectly within his right. He's the one who feels victimized here, where he he suffered I want to say a spinal injury in the weight room. Basically, I think slipped a disc or something, and that caused a knock-on effect of just not very pleasant things for him. And he's saying that the coach ignored it. Supposedly Bart Bowen thought that he was faking an injury and wasn't really. I want to say there were some allegations that Bowen was kind of making fun of him a little bit, would make, offhand comments about this particular player. Didn't do anything in a similar crossover to some of the Anderson allegations. Didn't do anything to stop bullying against a specific player when informed about it. So an interesting kind of crossover there where multiple Cache Valley coaches are accused of not intervening in bullying within the locker room. So again, just not a great situation. And again, like I said, this one's a lot less concrete. We don't know what happened. We don't know if it happened, if the player's just exaggerating something, or if this really did happen, which, granted, Bowen was let go like 2 weeks after this happened, 2 or 3 weeks, because the article came out on like October 7th.
After it was reported, yeah.
Yeah, it was October 7th, I think the article came out, and the season ended 2 or 3 weeks later, on like October 20th, thereabouts, and Bowen was let go. So I don't know if that was just, all right, get rid of him, or the fact that Bowen hadn't had a really great, successful season in 3 or 4 years.
It seemed like Logan was still holding its own, at least on the football field. So it seemed like my hunch is that his dismissal is more related to the off-the-field.
Yeah, I thought he did incredibly well given the talent he had.
Yes. Also, I mean, kind of a sidebar here, not controversy, but just it was new coaches. I mean, new coaches their first year, Ryan Visser at Mountain Crest, Trampus Wade at Bear River, but then there's going to be a new coach at Logan, and there's going to be a new coach at Green Canyon with some turnover there. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out when 4 of the 6 coaches in Region 11 will have been on the job for less than really 2 seasons.
Yeah, everyone will be in their second season or earlier, except for Scabby and Ridgeline.
All right, I got to take another quick break and an update on other things going on in the Mountain West as Wednesday marked the beginning of Mountain West Conference play. A lot more teams in action. It'll be the first game for Utah State tomorrow. This week in the Mountain West, and more on the top stories of the past year from a local angle. Love to get your thoughts as well. 435-339-0321.
This is your Mountain West basketball update with Matt and Everett.
After no games around the conference after Christmas Day until Wednesday night, the Mountain West kicked off their schedule with a bang, as 5 games took place within 2 hours of each other, and it was New Mexico remaining as the only perfect and ranked team in the conference after an 88-69 win over Colorado State at the Pit. The Rams jumped out to a 5-0 lead, then watched as the Lobos drained 4 3-point field goals in a row to take a lead they would never relinquish as part of a 17-0 run.
Whipped it ahead to Mash, right corner to JJ. Johnson drives the baseline, kicks it out to House, straight on triple. Yes!
Robert Portnoy on KKOB Albuquerque with the call. Jalen House put up a season-high 26 points on 10 of 14 from the field, including a striking 5 of 6 from beyond the arc to push New Mexico to 13-0. San Jose State continued a strong start to the season with the win in their first conference matchup, downing the Runnin' Rebels of UNLV 75-72 in overtime. Despite a game-high 20 points from Rebel guard E.J. Harkless, Omari Moore led the Spartans to a 10-4 mark with a team-high 15 points and 7 rebounds in the victory. Preseason conference favorite San Diego State opened up their conference slate of action in a familiar fashion, going on multiple first-half runs en route to a 36-23 halftime advantage over Air Force and a 71-55 final.
Off to Bradley, pull-up jump shot, good! Like I told you, steals in transition.
That's the legend Ted Leitner on San Diego Sports 760. A 20-point outburst from Fresno State guard Jamal Baker led the Bulldogs to a 58-53 win at home over Wyoming on Wednesday night. The Bulldogs moved to 15-4 against the Cowboys in Fresno all time. And in Reno, Boise State kept it close with Nevada, but the Wolfpack held on at the end to a 74-72 win at home. Keenan Blackshear led all Nevada scores with 20, and his go-ahead layup with 3 seconds left sent the Lawler Event Center into a frenzy. Here's John Ramey with the call on Learfield.
Keenan down the lane. Keenan all the way scores. 3 seconds and 8/10 remaining. Nevada by 1.
And that's your Mountain West basketball update. I'm Matt Everett.
Don't wait. Plan your New Year's Eve celebration now. Get your night rolling at the Riverwoods Conference Center's New Year's Eve buffet catered by Elements Restaurant. The night kicks off at 5 p.m. for you early birds. Reservations are being accepted from 5 to 8 p.m. Enjoy a delicious buffet full of appetizers, salads, garlic rosemary prime rib, and brown sugar Dijon pork loin. Plus decadent desserts sure to satisfy any sweet tooth. Start your New Year's off in style with family, friends, delicious food, and live music at the Riverwoods Conference Center New Year's Eve buffet. Call ahead for reservations 750-5151. 750-5151.
We're heading into some crazy weather this winter, which means power outages. Tyler and his team at Golden Spike Electric can install a Generac automatic standby generator for your home so you can avoid issues when the power goes out. If you have one already, Golden Spike Electric can maintain your Generac automatic standby generator for you. Find them online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. Golden Spike Electric and Generac automatic standby generators. Power you can count on.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. A number of your texts coming through. We'll get to those before we continue talking about our top stories of the year. 435-339-0321 if you want to chime in. 5338. I nominate the USU volleyball team for winning the conference tournament. Yeah, great run for USU volleyball. 8968. Will Ike Larson have 4 years eligibility left?
I believe he has 3 because he used his redshirt year. Can't use this one unless there's a COVID year somewhere in there, which I don't think because he came in after the COVID year. So I think he's only got 3.
That's from what I understand as well. 9315. Do we play Weber next season?
In basketball, probably. I don't think so in football.
And then is there anybody coming up in Regions 11 that could be an Ike-type player that USU could get?
Jackson Olsen?
Yeah, Jackson Olsen's going in this year.
Yeah, he's going. He'll probably redshirt his first year, but
dynamic wide receiver, kick return specialist.
Obviously, different position, but yeah. That's, I think, him and Justice Enna are the 2 Cache Valley products I know that are going in this year. Enna coming off of a mission for the LDS Church, so he's coming back and he'll enroll. I don't know if he'll be around for spring ball. I don't know when he gets back or if he's
I think he is planning on being there for spring.
Okay. Yeah, that could be a difficult thing timing-wise, so we'll see. As far as I don't know if there's anybody else. As far as players in Region 11 now, there weren't really that many dynamic offensive players. Defensively, maybe. I know Ridgeline had a couple of good defensive players. So we'll see. But nobody who stood out nearly as much as Ike Larson, who was a absolute force.
Yeah, on
in
both
Cache
sides
Valley
of the ball.
sports.
0391. Talk about...
He had one before that.
Oh, one before that. Okay, before we start patting on the local high schools for state titles, remember, 4A only had 13 teams, north and south. UHSAA, a train wreck and embarrassment the last 2 years.
Yeah, I do hesitate to bring in tons of credit. Obviously, the fact that you get that many, because I don't know how many Region 10 came away with. They came away with plenty of hardware of their own. But in a lot of the more traditional team sports, the soccer, the basketball, and football, Region 11 has done a lot better than Region 10, at least just looking at it without actually doing the math on it. Seems like they've done pretty well.
Yeah. And then talk about Green Canyon football coach Ander. Tight-lipped? Why? What happened? I don't know the tight-lipped comment. I don't know what that's about. But
I've not really looked into it. I mean, it was just that he probably wasn't performing.
Yeah, that's a program that has had expectations that have not been met for multiple seasons now.
He had a long leash, and they finally decided it's time to move on. I know Ander wasn't happy about it. He wanted to stay on. He didn't. It wasn't voluntary on his part. They let him go, fired him if you want to use that language.
More talk about the top stories of the year in sports coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Thermo Fisher Scientific is hiring for their manufacturing, distribution, and warehouse team. And that's great news for anyone seeking a rewarding career. Thermo Fisher offers positions across multiple shifts, competitive compensation, health benefits, paid time off, bonuses, and an excellent work environment. Help Thermo Fisher make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. Visit jobs.thermofisher.com and search Logan. Thermo Fisher Scientific is an equal opportunity employer.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. We need to blow out our inventory and you need to sleep better and save money on mattresses. That's a win-win. We're calling this the last week sale because this is the last week we can get rid of inventory. It's the last week of the year. Sealy Posturepedic was $12.99, now only $5.99. Tempur-Pedic $34.99, only $19.99. The warehouse is full and it needs to be empty. No interest financing available. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? It's the last week sale only at My Mattress.
Advanced Heating and AC, the two-time gold medal winner in Best of Utah. They're teaming up with Carrier Heating and Cooling. Carrier provides you the best furnace units available, and now's the best time to buy a new unit before the weather turns Cache Valley cold. Financing options are available. Turn to the experts at Advanced Heating and Carrier. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, 752-7272, or stop by their showroom west of DI and online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
The Young Automotive Group is proud to announce Young Truck and Trailer Center in Cache Valley. Whether it's heavy equipment trailers, horse trailers, race car trailers, or cargo and utility trailers, we're excited to offer some of the finest trailers and flatbed work trucks to Cache Valley. Our team of experts look forward to helping you find the right truck or trailer to fit your needs, with competitive prices offered on every make and model for sale on our lot. With our extensive inventory, you'll find the best deals right here in Cache Valley. Young Truck and Trailer Center, just off Highway 89 in Logan. Think young, drive young.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, recapping the top stories of 2022 locally. 435-339-0321 if you want to submit a nomination. We've had some of those. But next on our list, this really kind of came out of nowhere. Look, we knew that John Hartwell had been applying for openings at other universities, at P5 schools, and had been doing that over the last several years for different openings as an athletic director, a couple different spots. And look, that happens. It's not like that was a secret or something weird. But he was allegedly in the running at Auburn, and then they went another direction, and then he abruptly resigns his post at Utah State and leaves the state. And so it was as if he didn't get that job, there was no coming back, and he didn't come back. Goes to issues a statement saying that he's moving to Arkansas. His wife's mother, I guess, has an ailing health and wanted to be closer to family. But just an abrupt resignation by John Hartwell. And then what was weird, coupled with that, just like a week or two later, Noelle Cockett announces her resignation. So it's left a lot of people wondering if somehow the two are related, but nothing's been reported to that fact. But still, John Hartwell, after being here for quite a while, abruptly leaves, and Jerry Bovee takes over as the interim.
Yeah, and I've heard rumblings about the state of Utah State and the athletic program, including finances, but and I need to go back and check the public records in that, since that's public university. I can find out what their financials are if I want. But yeah, there were some who were speculating that had to do with the lawsuit that was filed, because that was in pretty close proximity to this story. And it's not just it was more like a straw that broke the camel's back type thing, because there's been a lot of controversy.
Yes.
And not just involving, one coach's comments about sexual assault in a random team meeting. There's much worse things that have happened, and much worse allegations. So
that happened on the watch of both John Hartwell and Noelle Cockett.
Yeah, so there was definitely some controversy there, or I guess suspicion, speculation that was related to those things. But in the end, it's very, it kind of, like I said, it did come out of nowhere, and it was a big hit or a big surprise, and just rattled the entire Utah State sports landscape. Because, this is the guy of Utah State sports suddenly quitting.
Yeah, it's not like he didn't not get a job somewhere else. It's like, I'm done.
Yeah, it seemed like he just wanted to leave Utah State, and he just decided, all right, it's either this or that or nothing. It's either get that job, the Power 5 job I always wanted, not necessarily just Auburn, but just any Power 5 job.
But particularly in the South.
Yeah, particularly in the South. So it was all his all of his checklist for dream job rolled up into one, and he wanted that, or is like, I'm just done at Utah State. And so when he didn't get the job, he just quit.
Another big story of the year, as was already mentioned by 5338, volleyball. Back-to-back conference titles and an NCAA tournament appearance. Great season for USU volleyball. Picked up some big wins along the way. And a great job by that team, continuing to develop with that coaching staff, outstanding individual players, and great to see what they are able to do, the type of season that they had, and exciting to see what the future holds for Utah State.
Yeah,
their volleyball program.
This is a lot like gymnastics, except this time the coach hasn't left yet. The program is on the up and up. They've had their first NCAA tournament appearance in 12 years. Their last one was in 2010. Like you said, back-to-back conference championships, albeit in slightly different ways, where one was a regular season title, a share of a regular season title. The other was winning the conference tournament. But still, hard work came back to Utah State in back-to-back years. And, sorry, I got distracted. I'm watching the Wyoming-Ohio game.
Okay. Well, we just finished it off with this. Just the last one was just a record-tying start for Utah State men's basketball, which, as we chronicled earlier, was foiled by Weber State to set a new record. But a great start for USU Hoops. You can go back and see the top stories on CashValleyDaily.com. Top news stories for the year, as well as the top sports stories of the year, CashValleyDaily.com. Until then, we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.